News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Franklin County Medical Center. Of course, they have events throughout the year, but the coming warmer weather naturally lends itself to enjoying what nature has to offer. And Stokes Nature Center has plenty of events on the calendar. On KBNU's For the People program on Friday, Nature Center Executive Director Kendra Penry told us about some of the events, including one that happens later this month on how emotions connect us to the natural world.
And how nature can both affect our emotions and how we can be affected by them. And it starts in March, but we're actually going to be hosting that at the Logan Library. So for anyone curious about seeing their renovation, you can come and join us there. And the first one's going to be on connection and connecting to our community and nature. And we'll have one per month throughout the year on everything from happiness to fear and conflict and just how we can connect better to our community and to ourselves.
The first one at the newly opened Logan Library will be held March 21st. More events at the Nature Center include things for the kids.
We do a Friday story time every single week. Granted, it's geared towards pre-K and kindergarten, but if an adult wants to come and listen to a story and make a craft, we won't turn you away. But we also do a variety of other things throughout the summer, including our Summer Citizens program in July and our summer camps, which registration for them will start for our members this coming week. So our kids can get excited about getting outside every single day in the summer, and we promise to send them home very tired at the end of their day with their week with us.
Stokes Nature Center will also team up with USU Extension for a maple tapping course.
Yeah, and it also helps us working with USU Extension, who are trying to understand the health of our maple trees and how things changing might affect the syrup or the quantity of it. So it goes both ways. We're able to help local research while also helping people understand a different way to engage with the world around them. Our maple tapping workshops are always really popular. It is, like you said, it is not something new. There's very little about that technology that has ever changed.
Also, they have recently moved their administrative offices to a new location, 913 South 100 West in Logan, and they will have an office warming party this Friday from 1 to 5. They'll have snacks, be able to answer questions, and she said you can even paint a birdhouse if you'd like while there. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight. Mostly cloudy with a good chance of some more rain and snow showers in our forecast. Very little in the way of any snow accumulation expected, low around 30. Rain and snow likely in the morning, chance of rain and snow in the afternoon, high in the lower 40s. Mostly cloudy, slight chance of rain and snow Wednesday night, then just cloudy skies, upper 30s on Thursday. It's been to 41. It's 39 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by the Advocates. If you were not at fault, if you've been injured in a car, trucking, or slip and fall accident, chat online at utahodvocates.com or call 801-355-5550.
In today's game, the momentum will shift when one team goes on a run. A run. Like the diaper run you made last night? If you're thinking of getting a vasectomy, the healthcare teams at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston are ready. A vasectomy is a highly effective form of contraception. It's a simple procedure with a short recovery time, and a vasectomy means less stress for family planning. Talk to the experts at Franklin County Medical Center in Preston about your vasectomy. Start by visiting fcmc.org today.
KBNU News Time is 4:07. Gun violence prevention advocates who gathered Monday at the Utah State Capitol called on Governor Caucus to veto legislation that they said could place children in harm's way by training more teachers to carry firearms on campus. The bill funding tactical training for Utah educators who want to defend their classrooms with guns received final legislative approval late last week. when the Republican-controlled House voted along party lines to send it to the governor's desk. Cox has not stated directly whether he will sign the bill, but he told reporters on Friday he is very worried about school safety and supports arming and training staff so they can respond very quickly if the worst does happen. Under the measure, teachers who hold a valid concealed carry permit can participate for free in an annual program training them to defend their classrooms against active threats and to safely store, carry, load, and unload firearms in a school setting. The program would cost the Department of Public Safety about $100,000 annually, according to the bill, and begin May 1st if signed into law. County sheriffs would appoint instructors to lead the course, which participating teachers would be expected to retake each year. And the Utah State Board of Education is set to study the correlation between standardized tests administered to young students to assess their reading and comprehension skills. These evaluations, mandatory for first through third graders, aim to gauge their proficiency in these areas. The state periodically undertakes such studies to ensure the continued relevance and accuracy of its educational benchmarks, aiming to refine, if necessary, the state's approach to early literacy assessment. The study by the state school board aims to determine whether the reading comprehension and basic literacy tests given in the first and second grades are accurate predictors of third grade performance. KVNU News Time is 4:09. For more details on these and other stories, visit CacheValleyDaily.com.
Your station for the Aggies. News Talk KVNU, 102 FM, 610 AM. And on Alexa, Google, online, or the KVNU mobile app.
On March 5th at 7 p.m., something extraordinary is happening in Utah, the Utah Republican Caucus. It's not just a meeting. It's a gathering of neighbors, friends, and like-minded people, united in the pursuit of a stronger state and nation. Come discuss the principles that Utah has and needs. Elect delegates that reflect the heartbeat of our communities. You'll help rescue our nation's future by voting for your preferred Republican presidential candidate. Registered Republicans, show up, be heard. Visit utgop.org to find your local caucus, paid for by the Utah Republican Party.
Today's hearing aid technology can improve not only your life, but the lives of the people who care about you. Once again, you'll be able to hear the reason for their laughter and understand conversations. Dr. Paul Danes will customize a hearing improvement program to meet your unique requirements, whatever they are. Call Dr. Danes for an appointment at 753-HERE and let him show you how.
Bring back what you've been missing. Bring back Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology.
It's time to tax like a champ with help from your local pros at H&R Block. Block guarantees 100% accuracy and your max refund or your money back. Plus, you'll always know the price of your tax prep before you begin. Walk in or make your appointment with H&R Block in Logan by calling 752-1651. That's 752-1651. Or download the H&R Block app and see for yourself why it's better with Block. Well, tax situations are different. Not everyone gets a refund. Limitations apply. See hrblock.com/guarantee.
The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden is March 22nd and 23rd at the Eccles Eye Center. For 25 plus years, thousands of people have enjoyed this fun and helpful home show. Main Street access, great parking, and thousands of visitors make it perfect for your business. Reserve your space today. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show for details or call 752-1390.
That's 752-1390.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Tuesday, March 5th, Super Tuesday. If you happen to, if you're a network television watcher, I'm sorry. Most of the big three, at least, are Big Four, I should say, are covering the caucuses around the country in the presidential race, which is at this point just between Nikki Haley and Donald Trump for the Republicans, and pretty much Joe Biden and no one else for the Democrats. But these elections will be taking place around the country, and there are some key swing states, and any excuse to have a free event on TV news, at least cable news and the networks. So that's what they're going to be doing tonight, at least until around 9 p.m. our time. So sorry, your show has been postponed, most likely. As far as the local caucuses, we'll run through everything you need to know here in a bit. But these are taking place tonight. For both major parties, the Democrats and the Republicans. Democrats are hosting kind of a more traditional primary, a balloted primary. Republicans this year did something that had kind of hadn't happened for a while, because it's, to call it archaic is fair, but they did it with a purpose this year. The goal was to draw interest and get people excited about the caucus system again. The caucus system kind of fading in popularity due to the convenience of mail-in ballots and traditional primaries. The Utah Republican Party wanted to, I think, kind of push back against that a little bit. I think they had a couple of reasons for doing this. We won't get into those, but it's the Republican primary for the presidential race has, we'll put it this way, been far more contentious and divisive within the party. We'll put it that way. So I think that's another reason they wanted to go with caucus. Basically, fewer people will turn out, and less odds of this turning into a national news story of some kind. So, but spoke with Jeff Cox, the Cash Republican Party chair, a while back, and he said that messaging he received from the party was they really wanted to kind of drive home that the caucus system is important to Utah Republicans. And acknowledging that it has faded in popularity. It's inconvenient. For example, the meetings tonight will go until they'll go from 6 to 9. People with kids, people with jobs that start early, that's obviously going to be extremely inconvenient, and it does keep a lot of people away, frankly. So that has led to kind of a lack of interest in the caucus system, and Utah Republicans are worried that it's about to go the way of the dodo. And so this is a last-ditch effort to try and draw attention to it, build up understanding of the caucus system and why Republican Party leadership thinks it's important. And so that's what they chose to do. It's not an impossible process. This is my one. I'm not a fan of the caucus system, mainly because it does drive, rank and file register. Regardless of which major party you look at, it drives rank and file registered voters away. The cliche, the saying you always hear is the crazies show up. I think that's unfair, but it is true that the most dedicated, most political, usually most diehard partisan members of the party are the ones who make time for and show up for the 3 to 4 hour event of caucus night when it happens. And again, that's not exclusive to Utah Republicans. Same thing happens for Utah Democrats. I've seen their caucuses as well, and you wouldn't recognize the opinions and the speeches of people who show up for these events in contrast to just talking to regular Utah Democrats out on the street. Same for the Republicans. So it is a challenge, to say the least. And that's another goal of the Utah Republican Party with this, is by sort of forcing everyone to be a part of the caucus system. They're hoping to draw in new people, people who aren't these, dedicated, been to caucus night every year for 40 years type of delegates, and draw in younger delegates. Utah Republican Party worried about their current demographics, and some internal polling that shows they're losing younger voters. As far as internal as far as younger voters in general in the primaries and the general election as well, but also in party leadership and in internal party decisions, they're noticing the age just keeps increasing, not the younger people aren't being drawn in. So that's another goal tonight for the Utah Republican Party. So Here's a quick rundown of what you do. Now, one thing, a cheat, if you will, it's not really a cheat, but if you can't, where the Utah Republican Party for the nominee for president is going to be decided in what's called a presidential preference poll. Again, Utah Democrats, they already got their ballots, actually, and those ballots it comes and plays out similar to what you're all used to with mail-in voting here in Utah over the last decade. So they've already got their ballots, and I'm not sure the rules exactly on if you want to turn that ballot in person, how you do that tonight. But I know it's an option. For Republicans, though, to weigh in on the presidential race, on your preference, you'll have to play a part in this presidential preference poll, which will not happen until it'll start at 6:30 tonight and end at 9 tonight, and that's it. No early voting, no mail-in voting, nothing like that. You have to drop a ballot at these caucuses. But one thing they've done to make it easy, although you want to get on this, because, again, this all starts about 6:30 tonight. First thing you need to know, to find your caucus location here in Cache Valley. For example, there is a location out at Mountain Crest tonight. There's a location at Mount Logan Middle School. So to find your location, your precinct, as it's called, visit the Utah GOP has set up a website dedicated to this for caucus tonight. It's precinctportal.org. You can also find that linked at Cache GOP, at Utah GOP, all those websites. The Cache Republican Facebook page, there's a link to it. But the direct website, again, that they've set up for tonight is precinctportal.org. And there you just enter your address, or if you happen to know your voter ID. I don't know who knows their voter ID, but some do, I guess. You type in your address, it'll show you where your precinct location is. And once you have that on that same site, precinctportal.org, you can click a couple of different buttons. You can click for more information about caucus night, precinct positions that will be up for election tonight, because that's also an important part of tonight. You're electing your neighborhood leaders who will then represent you in the county party decisions as delegates. So you can read more about it, how to run to be a delegate yourself. You can read about that at precinctportal.org. But the most important button for you is one that says pre-register. And so you click pre-register, you go through a quick registration and voter identification process, and then if you can't stay for the full, 3-hour event, speeches and politicking and all of that, and you're not interested in running to be a delegate for the county party or the state party, you can drop off a ballot. If you simply want to vote in the presidential nomination contest, which at this point, basically, your choices, I think some other names will appear on the ballot, but your realistic choices at this point are either Donald Trump or Nikki Haley. Those are the two, top candidates in this race that will roughly be decided nationwide after tonight, most likely. Maybe not, but most likely. But if that's your only goal tonight, is to vote in this presidential preference poll as a registered Republican, if you click pre-register at precinctportal.org, you can print a ballot, fill it out, and then show up tonight with your, you need voter ID, same identification forms that you would use to register to vote. And you can see more about that at caucus.utah.gov if you want to see what qualifies as proper voter ID. And then you can just simply drop your ballot off at your precinct location tonight. You'll still have to go through, where you've pre-registered, you won't have to go through the registration process at the caucus event, but you'll have to go through check-in. But once you're checked in, you can actually drop your ballot, vote in that presidential preference poll, and leave. You don't have to stay. If you don't plan to run to be a delegate, if you don't plan to vote in those races on who represents you in the county party as a delegate for your neighborhood, if none of that interests you, you simply want to vote in the presidential preference poll, you can do that by going, again, to the Utah GOP website they've set up for caucus night, precinctportal.org. Find your precinct, click pre-register. Once you've done that, print a ballot, show up with your proper forms of ID and the ballot, and cast your vote. Make sure it's been accepted and recorded, and then you're welcome to go on about your night. So if you've got kids, if you couldn't get a babysitter, if you've got to be up early for work, you simply aren't interested in being there for 3 hours to vote for neighborhood delegates and things like that, you just want to vote in the presidential preference poll, they have provided an option for you to do that. You have to do it in person. You can send your ballot with someone else. You do have to, during your pre-registration, make note of that. But you can send it with a neighbor that's going, a family member that's going. There are ways to actually have your ballot taken in for you. But if you want to just drop it off yourself and not stay for the whole caucus night event, they have provided that option. And so, again, that website for Utah Republicans, if you're only interested in voting in the presidential preference poll and not in the elections for delegates and more for your neighborhood, you can go to precinctportal.org, find your precinct location tonight, pre-register, print a ballot, fill it out, and drop it off and not have to stay for the full event. So a little bit of a cheat there for those who are just interested in voting. There will also be, elections for other statewide races. These will not be decided tonight. These will be decided in a primary because there are a million people running for the United States Senate. There are 3 candidates here in District 1, a seat currently held by Representative Blake Moore. He's being challenged by sort of a kind of further right/libertarian guy, Paul Miller, and another fella I've never heard of before, Derek Draper. There's a gubernatorial race where you have 5 candidates, though only 3 that are actually campaigning: Spencer Cox, Carson Jorgensen, former GOP chair, and State Representative Phil Lyman from southern Utah. And then, of course, you have 4 candidates in the Attorney General race, 2 for State Auditor. Now, that's an important one tonight because this is a new position here in northern Utah. This is, a new race, a race that you don't normally vote on because John Dougal has been very popular and he's been in that seat for, I think, 3 cycles now. So tonight, registered Republicans will also decide the party's nominee through the caucus system, at least, between Tina Cannon, who was she ran for Congress a couple of cycles ago, was here on our show many times, very, very funny lady, and Ricky Hatch, who has been involved with, I believe, Weber County elections offices. Those 2 running for state auditor to replace State Auditor John Dougal, who's going to be running for Congress in District 3 since Representative John Curtis is leaving that spot to run for United States Senate. Anyway, so those decisions will be up for grabs tonight as well. But again, the caucus system, this will be for the nominee as through the caucus system. But most of these races are going to a general primary for all registered Republicans. Just because there are so many candidates. Nobody's walking away with a more than 60% tonight, in my opinion. Maybe in the governor's race, because Spencer Cox, not very popular with the further right delegates usually, though very popular with rank-and-file Republicans in the primaries and the generals. So that race, maybe there will be a direct nominee tonight, but I think the rest of them are going to a primary for sure. Through the caucus system. The governor's race is going to primary no matter what. Everybody collected signatures there. So, again, precinctportal.org. Find your precinct location tonight. Everything gets underway. Now, they do have some locations are doing an early check-in at 6. You want to check your specific precinct location for that because the official statement from the Utah Republican Party is that things get underway at 6:30. But maybe show up around 6. You can check in. At 6:30 when things officially begin. Again, if you're just interested in voting in the presidential preference poll that Utah Republicans are holding tonight to determine the presidential nominee from Utah, from the Utah Republican Party at least, to do that, you can pre-register at precinctportal.org, print your ballot, fill it out, and just go in and drop it off with voter ID and things like that necessary as well. If you want to send it with someone, there is a form there for that as well. But that's the only way to vote in the presidential nomination contest for the Republican Party here in Utah this year, the presidential preference poll that will take place tonight at your respective caucus meetings. Again, find your precinct location, pre-register, read more about caucus night and the races that are up for grabs, how to run to be a delegate yourself. There are some tips there as well. And all of that at the Utah Republican website they've set up just for caucus night tonight, precinctportal.org. And we'll be back right after this.
American energy is under attack. Joe Biden has waged a war on American natural resources and made it harder to produce affordable, reliable, and clean energy right here in Utah. Our energy prices are already going up.
Biden's policies will make it worse. But Republican John Curtis has our back. There is no greater supporter of unleashing American energy than John Curtis. John Curtis knows our abundant natural resources help keep us free and safe, powers our economy, keeps the lights on, and keeps Utah on the move. John Curtis is Utah tough. He's taken the fight to Joe Biden and the Washington politicians who all want to hurt American energy. And now we need a conservative to take the fight to the United States Senate. We need Republican John Curtis, a strong defender of American energy dominance in the fight for us.
Paid for by Clear Path Action Fund. Not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Listener pointed out I'd never mentioned the official start time for caucus night tonight, 7 p.m. That's the official start time for the Republican in-person only caucus events tonight. But again, most locations, some I've heard are doing it at 6, but most locations, and the official state party word is that check-in will begin at 6:30 with official events getting underway at 7. So again, precinctportal.org to find your caucus location, to pre-register. If you're printing a ballot, just to drop it off and vote in the presidential poll, but don't plan to stay for the rest of the elections and the meeting. You can do all of that again at precinctportal.org. If that's tough to remember, you get home and realize you forgot me saying that a million times, just go to castgop.com or utahgop.com or .org, and links there to pre-register as well. It'll take you to the same website. But again, it is precinctportal.org. They've set that up just for tonight, and we'll let you know how caucus night goes tomorrow on the show. Coming up, Jess Lucero joining us to talk about the point-in-time survey that was done here statewide, but Jess was part of the team that did it here in northern Utah. This is how the state goes about understanding the trends when it comes to homelessness, which we do have a problem with here in Cache Valley. Many people don't know that. So how has it changed from year to year, and how does it match with what we saw debated during the legislative session, with the governor asking for about $100 million, getting about 60 of that, I think, for home programs to combat homelessness statewide, and also the general knowledge that this is all basically stemming, the growth in homelessness throughout the state is stemming from our housing shortage as well, which could take years to fix. All of that coming up after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:31, and the news is brought to you by Logan Extermination. Jennifer Betancourt, a 24-year veteran of service at USU Space Dynamics Laboratory, on Tuesday was named SDL's Chief Financial Officer. Betancourt joined SDL in 2000 as a cost analyst. She becomes the organization's first female officer and a corporate officer of the SDL Board of Directors. She will serve not only as director of SDL's recently merged Business and Finance Division, but as CFO, overseeing all aspects of financial management and strategy. The appointments were effective as of March 1st. Lyndon Loosely will retire as CFO on July 1st, but until then will assist with transitional activities as a special assistant to SDL President Jed Hancock. Betancourt graduated in Human Resource Management from Utah State in 1992 and earned a Master of Business Administration degree 2 years later. The Space Dynamics Laboratory, located on USU's Innovation Campus, is an independent nonprofit corporation owned by USU, employing 1,200 engineers, scientists, and business professionals who support NASA's vision to explore the universe. A leading South Sudanese academic and activist living in exile in the U.S. has been charged in Arizona, along with a Utah man born in the African nation, on charges of conspiring to buy and illegally export millions of dollars worth of weapons to overthrow the government back home. Peter Bayar Ajak fled to the U.S. with the help of the American government 4 years ago after he said South Sudan's president ordered him abducted or killed. Emergency visas were issued at the time to Ajak and his family after they spent weeks in hiding in Kenya. A federal criminal complaint unsealed Monday charges Ajak and the Utah man, identified as 44-year-old Abraham Chol Keach, of conspiring to illegally export a cache of weapons through a third country to South Sudan. And Jordan Clarkson scored a season-high 38 points, including a 12-0 run down the stretch to boost the Utah Jazz over the Washington Wizards, 127-115 Monday night at the Delta Center. Colin Sexton scored 29 points. John Collins added 17 points, 15 rebounds, and a career-high 6 blocks for Utah, who had lost 8 of 9. KBNU News Time is 4:34.
The bugs love the good weather. I'm guessing you have a bunch of those creepy crawlers waiting patiently to come into your cozy home. Let Logan Extermination take care of those unwanted pests with a monthly exterior spray. Now, for a limited time, they'll spray your home's exterior monthly from April to October for only $65 per month for a 2,000 square foot or less home. Call Logan Extermination before your home becomes enemy territory. Logan Extermination, 752-8450.
This is a special report from ABC News. Your voice, your vote. Super Tuesday. I'm Daria Albinger. ABC News can project President Biden will win Iowa's Democratic caucuses. ABC's Win with what's on voters' minds nationwide.
For many voters casting a ballot for the Democratic primary, they cite democracy and abortion as top issues for this election.
Health care and making sure that our young people have equal opportunities and access to education.
For those voting in the Republican primary, many point to the border and immigration and foreign affairs as the most important issues. Both sides believe the economy is the top concern, and despite the lack of enthusiasm for a potential 2020 rematch, many like Malwin Johnson are hoping for a big voter turnout.
We want everybody to be able to vote and voice their vote.
Win, ABC News, Washington.
Aside from tonight's primaries, there are several caucuses and a Democratic caucus in American Samoa. This is ABC News.
And KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy skies is our forecast. Chance of rain and snow this evening, then rain and snow likely after midnight, but little or no accumulation. Rain and snow likely Wednesday morning, a chance of rain and snow in the afternoon, high temperature in the low 40s. Slight chance of precipitation Wednesday night, then Thursday just mostly cloudy and upper 30s for the high. It's been to 41. It's 38 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Roof Rescue, dedicated to keeping your home safe and dry from minor repairs to complete roof replacement. See roofrescueusa.com or call 435-999-4268. You can always get more news at cashvalleydaily.com. And now let's get a business update brought to you by Edward Jones.
From ABC News Wall Street now, stocks took a Tuesday tumble, the losses accelerating into the close. The Dow gave up 405 points, and NASDAQ fell 268. The S&P closed down 52. Bitcoin had an intraday high, followed by a plunge. Investors are looking ahead to Fed Chair Jerome Powell's visit to Capitol Hill. He'll appear before the House Wednesday and the Senate Thursday. He is expected to tell lawmakers that the central bank is in no hurry to cut interest rates. President Biden's war on on junk fees is now focusing on credit cards. The White House announcing a rule to cap late fees at $8, a move that regulators say could save consumers up to $10 billion a year. Target is getting into the paid membership game. The Minneapolis-based discount retailer's new program is called Target Circle 360. It'll offer perks like unlimited same-day delivery in as little as an hour and 2-day shipping for an, at first, $49 membership fee. Daria Albinger, ABC News.
Coming up on the Wednesday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show, Super Tuesday results are in. No big surprises. So what does it mean for this Republican primary that feels like it was over way before these results came in? Plus, Clay,
what in the world is Nikki Haley going to do? And now that we're officially basically underway with Trump v. Biden, we'll break it all down for you. Wednesday edition, Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM at 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Homelessness was a big debate during the legislative session. The governor in his budget asked for about $100 million to beef up prevention programs and assistance programs here in Utah. I think he got about $60 million of that request from the legislature in the appropriations process. And then they did tuck some money into other existing programs as well. The reason the governor spotlighted this and the reason the legislature mostly obliged is that it is a growing problem here in Utah. And homelessness in Utah throughout most of the state is very different than what we think of. Well, for most of us, when you think of homelessness, you think of that person, on the street of downtown Salt Lake asking you for $1, or someone that you see there by a track station in downtown Salt Lake and City Creek, sitting up against a building. Throughout the rest of the state, it can take, homelessness can exhibit itself in that form, but it can also be in the form of families sleeping in cars for days, even weeks at a time. It can be in the form of families with young children, even couch surfing from relatives and friends for lengthy periods of time. In fact, someone I know personally found herself and her son in a situation when her home that she was renting here in Logan flooded. And the owner that was renting decided that it wasn't worth the money to fix. And so she and her son were suddenly without a place and had to spend a good chunk of time, courtesy of a family member, staying in an RV in a driveway. So that type of homelessness is something we don't think about, and it is a growing problem even here in Cache Valley. The governor and the legislature focused on this because they realize this is stemming from our housing shortage and the just absolutely insane housing prices out there due to that shortage. Now, the best way to get those prices down, of course, is to build a lot of housing, but that could take years and is taking years. So that's kind of the overall picture of where we're at. And once a year, a group of volunteers statewide, thousands of volunteers, do something called a point-in-time survey. This is a way to, as best we can, get a handle on the trends in homelessness and what areas are seeing the most growth. One of these point-in-time surveys was done through the wee hours of the night here in Cache Valley recently, and Bill had a chance to reach out to one of those organizers behind the point-in-time survey, Jess Lucero. Here's Bill.
Thank you, Jason. On the line today, we have Jess Lucero, who is in charge of the point-in-time count for our local area here and is also a department chair in social work at Utah State University. Jess, thank you for spending a few minutes with us here on KVNU.
Yeah, thank you. Happy to be here.
Now, just recently, I guess at least a little over a month ago, towards the end of January, you had what is known as the point-in-time count. And this is to kind of get a gauge, kind of get a handle on who is dealing with homelessness in the state of Utah. And, of course, your focus was the Bear River area, Cache Valley. And so, from my understanding, this was carried out during that week, or especially January 24th and 25th. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's a single point in time count, and it happens in every jurisdiction across the United States at the same time. So it gives us a chance to kind of compare unsheltered and sheltered homelessness across the entire country. And we go out in teams all across the region, and that's our Cache, Rich, and Box Elder counties. This year we had over 120 volunteers who showed up from our Utah State community and from our wider community. They're both getting a survey out to folks who are unsheltered, but they're also connecting these folks to resources that exist within our communities, sharing warming items and hygiene items and et cetera in kits through outreach on the nights of the count.
Oh, very good. So it sounded like you had quite a turnout for that to take part in this count. I didn't realize this was on the same two nights, not only statewide but nationwide. This is held.
Yeah, it's not it's not the most perfect way to conduct a count, but it has a few strengths, and one of those being that it makes us able to compare across localities on a single night.
And, of course, locally here, the last couple of winters, we have had the help of the William A. Bernard Warming Center in Logan, located at the church there at St. John's Episcopal Church. Were you able to talk to individuals at that location?
Yeah. So the Warming Center is part of what is the sheltered count. So they submitted their numbers. I think on the night of the count, there were 14 individuals at the Warming Center who were sheltered but unhoused. And then for the days ensuing the count, we kept our volunteers at the center asked about folks where they were sleeping on the night of the count. So kind of a retrospective look back. And there were about 6 additional individuals who were new to the center who were able to be part of the count, part of the unsheltered count.
Nice.
Can I share a little bit about the numbers of what we had? We had so across the region. This is again Box Elder and Cache and Rich. We had on the night of the count. These are unofficial numbers, so I want to be really clear about that. There's still some process of deduplicating and other things that happen at a state level, and that report usually comes out in the summer following the count. But we had 14 who were at the Warming Center. We had 34 individuals who were in motel shelter, and that motel is provided by our Bear River Association of Governments, or BRAG. We had 11 who were in shelter at CAPSA and 90 that were in transitional housing at CAPSA that evening. We had 8 who were sheltered at New Hope Crisis Center, the domestic violence center over in Box Elder County. And then we had 41 unsheltered individuals that we encountered. And the primary places where we were identifying or locating unsheltered folks were sleeping in their cars. And that was spread all throughout the Cache County and over into Box Elder County as well.
Oh my goodness! So that's quite a few individuals. That.
Yep.
Now, would you say most of that would be in Cache County, being the most populous of the 3 counties?
Yeah, the unsheltered count is higher in Cache. Certainly, but there was, I don't have the breakdown by counties with me handy, but I was part of the team that was over in Box Elder County. We went out actually 3 nights starting on the 24th, and every night we were finding folks that were in their cars over in Box Elder County as well, but certainly proportionally smaller than what we are identifying in Cache County.
I see. So, not that you have those figures right in front of you, but how would this compare to last year's count that you did?
Yeah, our unsheltered, my memory is pretty good on this. Our unsheltered count was a little bit lower last year, and the year previous to that, it was quite a bit higher. And so something that's important to know is that was the year, right, that the Warming Center opened. And so last year was the first year during the outreach of the point-in-time count where we were able to say, hey, there's this resource, you can go check it out, let's connect you to it, right? And so that was really, I can't tell you how much that meant to our volunteers to be able to connect folks to an emergency resource that could serve them even that very next day. right? And so the unsheltered count has gone down since the warming center opened. But, there's still like that 41 figure. It's a alarming figure, I think, of folks who are taking shelter in their car. And I think it's important to note, too, that this is the best, the best estimate we can get with canvassing. And we can expect that the real number is quite a bit higher than the 41.
Those are the ones you found, in other words.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so when you see figures like this, where do these numbers go to? Who do you report these numbers to?
Yeah, so these numbers get reported up to the State Office of Homeless Services. And OHS compiles a report each year in every annual period. And so those, you can look back at historical kind of trends in homelessness across the state through the Office of Homeless Services website.
I see. Okay. And so with these counts that you do every year, how can people support this work?
Yeah. I think first, let me just say one thing about the point in time count and kind of its importance in our community. I really see it as twofold. One is it's helping us get a better understanding of the scope and scale of the challenge in our communities, right? So we have better data. The higher volunteer turnout makes a big difference in our ability to get more accurate data, right? So that's on the one hand. On the other side, when we can have more accurate point in time count figures, then when it goes to a state allocation of funding kind of space, we will receive our funding formula changes in some fashion when our point in time count numbers are stronger. We don't like to see the high numbers, but we like to see an accurate count because it makes a difference for funding for our area. So that's just a little bit on the side of the count. Now, on the side of how our community can support, I think there's really two things that I'd like to mention. First is that becoming well versed on what resources exist within our community is huge. So being able to connect folks who are experiencing homelessness to the warming center, to Bragg, to CAPSA, to New Hope, to our service providers who can help, I think is really crucial. The other thing that is really important to note is that, with an expanding homelessness in our area, it's related to a whole host of things, not the least of which is the rent rates and housing market challenges. But with those numbers getting larger in our region, there's quite a strain on our service provision system. And so where folks can and where they're able, connecting with folks like the Warming Center, with CAPSA, with New Hope Crisis, with Bragg's Foundation, with other entities who can accept funds and expand their services, whether that be through donation drives in material items or financial resources for these organizations. They need our support.
All right, very good. Well, Jess, thank you for spending a few minutes with us this afternoon, and kind of sobering numbers, because sometimes you hear people think, well, I don't think we have much of a homeless problem in Cache Valley, but we actually do. And hopefully through your efforts, through the volunteers and through the state efforts, people can get even more help than perhaps they are getting right now. We've had Jess Lucero, who's been with the point in time count for this year. That was conducted in late January. And Jess, thanks again for spending a few minutes with us here on For the People.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And now, Jason, back to you.
Thanks, Bill and Jess, for the update there. And there you have it, a window into how we, as best we can, track the growth of homelessness throughout Utah. So 753-5868 if you'd like to weigh in on this. We do have Jeff on the line. Jeff, hold tight. You are right up after this quick break.
I'm Larry Gelwicks, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Royal Caribbean Cruise Line with the biggest cruise promotion of the year with huge discounts off your cruise fare and free amenities. Sail the 7 seas with Royal Caribbean and Morris Columbus Travel. And for the best travel deals on the planet, give us a call at Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
100 plus businesses, thousands of people, free parking, Main Street access. It's the Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden at the Eccles Ice and Event Center, March 22nd and 23rd. If you are a home and garden business, from crafts to home building or excavation to emergency preparedness, this show is for you. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show or call 752-1390 for details.
24 NCAA appearances, 17 conference championships, 10 tournament championships. New head coach Danny Sprinkle and the Aggies are carrying on their commitment to excellence.
Tip to Brown. Brown at the 3. Yes! It's the 3. What a shot!
The Utah State Aggies play here with pregame beginning 1 hour before tip-off. Play-by-play and post-game interviews and Aggie call afterwards. It's Aggie basketball on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. Just before the break there, an update from Jess Lucero, one of the organizers of the Point in Time Survey here in northern Utah. Point in Time Survey is really the best we can do as far as tracking trends and growth in homelessness around the state, where things are ticking up, where things are ticking down, what's working, what's not. And it's usually done overnight. People literally go out into the streets and ask people questions. It's thousands of volunteers involved in this. So an update there from Jess Lucero, and thanks, Bill, for getting her on the line. And we have some responses from listeners here. First up, though, our good friend Jeff on the line. Jeff, your thoughts on this?
Thank you. Excuse me. I'm a Vietnam-era vet, and I have been homeless a couple of times. It's very easy for a wife to have a cop at the door and have you homeless in the middle of a winter.
Suddenly
it can happen anytime, any place, to anybody.
You're looking for a couch,
so
right?
I understand. Yeah, I'm trying to help a little bit around town here. The communication system was really faulty during that cold spell. You folks at the radio station are only reading the copy that people give you.
Sure.
And there was stuff about a veteran center up north Logan, sort of behind the Walmart. It no longer existed. It no longer was. Okay? I went to the St. John's place with 2 flats. That's 24 20-ounce cans, a pop-top Dinty Moore stew. You don't have to heat it. Just stick a spoon in there. Around 5 o'clock at night on one of those 10-degree nights, and they would not accept it. The right person was not there, wouldn't be there until about 7:30, 8 o'clock. I said, wait a minute, this is good food, it's sealed cans, let me just put it inside the door, they can inspect it for poison or whatever later. He says, no, you have to come back at 7:30, 8 o'clock. Well, I wasn't going to drive all the way to Harriman back in the middle of the weather and the storm and all that.
Sure.
Right? They were not contributing to helping people. Their administrative rules, regulations get in the way. Their communication faults get in the way of you actually finding where the people are and what to do about it.
That's
I was told to take my food cans to the food pantry. I said, no, that's not what this is about. I'm trying to leave it with hungry people when it's 10 degrees outside and they got no nutrition. And they said, well, you can't leave it, and lock the door in my face.
Wow.
At the St. John's shelter. And so, and I could give you half a dozen more examples that you haven't got time for and don't want to hear. But they are not communicating within the system, and they're giving your radio people faulty information with no phone numbers to talk to, no way to contact people. They sent people up to the VA thing, which didn't exist, didn't tell them where it was. On a Sunday night when there were no buses, I guess they were supposed to walk from downtown Logan up to 1,500 north and 200 east. You know, and a freezing cold lady with a couple of kids, maybe. I mean, it was nonsense. They're totally uncoordinated.
And you can see how
incompetent, I would say.
You can see how easily people would slip through the cracks in a scenario like that.
These are Grand Canyons. You guys are only reading the paper they give you, but they're not giving you accurate information.
That would
and
be.
You guys did that 2 or 3 times. I tried to call in and let you know, but you can only read what they put in front of you, and it's not always accurate.
Well, always.
So I'll get out of your way, but they need to get their act together if they really want to help people. And when somebody comes by with food to feed 24 people, they could have just put it on the floor and examined it later for hypodermic syringe holes with arsenic or cyanide, trying to kill off the homeless population. That's not what I was doing. I was leaving good food for 24 people, and they would not let me leave it there. And
That's
I think
unfortunate.
Excuse the word, and I won't use it. Starts with an R. We used to use it when I was a kid. All right?
I know, honestly, that is an unfortunate scenario. Jeff, appreciate the call, and always please call, especially if you hear us, disseminating information and you know that there's a correction in order or additional information that would be important. Please always call. I know I can only speak for myself. I don't mind being corrected. If something I'm saying is lacking information or needs some context or is even incorrect, please call and correct that, especially if it's dealing with how to help people in a scenario like this. So always call. Glad you do. And the sad thing is, for listeners out there, what Jeff pointed out, he's not the first person to tell me a story like this. I've heard this from all around the state, that the coordination is sometimes lacking, that some of the rules don't make sense, that people that want to help aren't able to because of various mechanisms that are already in place. So maybe there's room to kind of take a look at the whole system and see if there are holes that we could fill. Because, again, Jeff's not the first person to tell me. One was a state lawmaker to tell me that people are slipping through the cracks when it comes to our battle against homelessness, and that is unfortunate.
Mentioning the warming center, I don't know if he mentioned their website, but they do have a way to contact them through at least email.
Sure.
That you can send them a message.
At wabwarmingcenter.org, the website for that. Jeff, thank you. Always glad to hear you, and some really, really useful perspective there as well. We could always improve these systems. So, hour 2 of today's show, the For the People Book Club with our good friend Craig Peterson, here in the studio right after this, here on KVNU Logan.